to let some good deep breaths flow through our body. Nice and easy. Our body has this sense of excitement. It knows that even though it might have some work coming ahead, it's gonna feel good. We're gonna get stronger. So good things are all ahead. We make this commitment already to ourselves right here to listen to our bodies. If our bodies need breaks, that's okay. If our body wants to, take a break and come back into it, or if our body is done early, that's okay. Listen to our bodies. We're all at different spots. We're all growing stronger together. And so as we're here, allowing these deep breaths to continue to flow for a moment, we take just a moment to connect with a little intention for our class. Intention being the idea of flow versus stagnation. So when we're stagnating, think of the circulation. It doesn't continue to flow very easily. It gets stuck in a spot and it just doesn't move on past that point. So instead of having that type of stagnation, we're trying to get past that. We're flowing, our circulation is going, our muscles are moving. We're having good motion, essentially, through our class today. That's kind of our theme of class. Even think of this on deeper levels. By having our body work a little bit, by breathing, we're making it so that some stuck energy from the past doesn't have to be stagnant anymore. It can flow on with our breath. So with our breath, let's use that to get us started today. We're going to just start off with deep belly breaths for a few good rounds. Just an inhale, let that oxygen flow into the belly, very, very deep. A nice exhale. Almost like we're energizing, supercharging the body. The breath invites in prana, or life force. And that life force is smarter than us. It's more intelligent. It knows how to get some of the stagnancy out. What's important as we're getting started that we focus on breath, because we never want to do strengthening things holding the breath. So just to keep this flow of the breath starting already, let's take 3 more huge cycles into the belly. Good. So from here, we're going to start taking the right knee into the chest. As that knee comes in, try to imagine your left heel is trying to slide away so that it's like both knees are trying to get as far away from one another as possible. One's coming in, one's going further out. Good. So from that grounded place, now start to straighten leg up to sky. And releasing hands, lower that straight leg all the way to drop down to the ground. Once it's there, left knee comes in, give it a hug, and it's that right heel that's trying to slide further away. So fill this extra space for a moment. Leg all the way up to sky, get into the hamstring for a moment. Releasing hands, straight leg all the way to the floor. Good. From here, we'll start bicycles. We'll begin slowly, and eventually we'll start to increase the pace. We're starting slow at first so that we can make sure to include the stretch each time. So right knee comes in, maybe give it a brief hug. Right leg up to sky, tug it in, hamstrings opening. As that one lowers to hover above the ground, left knee comes in, hug, tug, and lower. Switching to pull the right knee in, hug, tug, switch. If you'd like to start increasing the tempo at this point, you're absolutely welcome to. You could even not use hands altogether. Just do a circle and then a circle. See if that leg that's straightening up to the sky can still straighten up to a stretch. So instead of just lowering it to an easy place or straightening it to an easy place, try to straighten it as closely inward as it can get to the toes. Whenever I do countdowns, some of us might be at different paces. That's okay. Don't ever feel like you have to try to suddenly catch up to me or whatever. So whatever pace you're going at, let's take maybe another 10. Always no breaks are fine if you need. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Plant the feet about as wide as the mat. Let's do a few nice windshield wipers. Take it fast, take it slow. It's almost like I check in with how the rain is doing internally. Is it a fast rain? Is it a slow rain? That's how fast I do my windshield wipers. Good. So maybe one more each side. And as the knees come back up, let the feet close to the glutes. Hands go behind the back of the head. We're going to do some crunches. Remember that crunches are not about curling the forehead in. Instead, find something to look at on the roof at about that 45-degree angle, and then keep the face flush to that angle as you lift up and down. So it's more about how much surface area of my back can I get to lift off the ground. Exhales through the hard part, inhales through the lower. So here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Release the arms, stretch the arms all the way to the back. And we're going to kind of inch one hand closer to the back wall and then the other hand. It's almost like we're walking our shoulders out. Good. Back to stillness. Just a couple of easy breaths. This next one's a pretty good challenge, so don't feel like it has to look exactly like me. Kind of like the crunch we did a moment ago, the idea is get just as much of your surface area of the back off the ground as possible. So the setup for this one is knees go close together, and then our right leg sticks out. So our knees are close, so that keeps that leg solid. From here, arms stretch all the way to the back wall. We take an inhale, prep. With the exhale, we flap our arms like wings to the side. We try to lift as much of our back off the ground as possible. And then inhale, return one vertebrae at a time down. Good. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. Before the second time, take the second side, take this right ankle to the left thigh. Let's give a nice hug around the left. Giving that hip that had to kind of keep it glued to the other thigh, giving that now a chance to open. Sometimes I'll have stillness, just kind of hugging as tight as I can. Other days there's a little bit of rocking, so that's fine too. Dropping that left foot back down to the floor. Let both knees fall briefly over to the left. Then back up through the center. Briefly fall over to the right. Okay, back up through the center. Right foot to floor. Knees are glued together again, left leg out. Take an inhale, sweeping arms up overhead. Exhale, coming up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Good work. 1. And left ankle to right thigh, set up the hug. Such a beautiful thing for me to see people listening to their bodies and breathing. Those are some of the lessons that I wish just I could teach everybody. Just listen to your body. It'll teach you so much wisdom. Yep. Just breathe. Okay, so as hands release, that right foot is to the floor. Briefly tilt this over to the right. Go over to the left. Okay, so left foot back down to the ground. We're going to do another set of crunches. With this one, we're doing circular crunches. So hands come behind the back of the head. When we rise up, let's say we're going to the top right corner first. So it's the left elbow that lifts. And then both shoulder blades lift off the ground through the center. Right elbow is there, and then down. I like to switch directions right away to keep my body in balance. Try to do an exhale through the entire lift. Inhale through the entire lower. Let's take another 3 to each direction. 3. 3. 2. 2. 1. And 1. Good. Keeping the hands clasped, just lift the chin into the chest, letting the head be super heavy, dropping back. That brings the back of the neck into a nice stretch. As we drop the head back down to the ground, open the arms out like a figure T shape, and then continue to sink the right ear closer and closer and closer to the right shoulder. Try to keep the left arm pulling away. And we'll take that to the second side. So left ear as far down to that left shoulder as we can get, and then that's the right arm that's trying to pull away. Good, and head back to the center. Both legs go up to sky. The legs, we imagine we have our own resistance band around it, so we're creating our own resistance. It's like we're moving through molasses. The legs open out super wide, and then try to keep kind of resist that band wanting to slam the legs together. So come back together. Here's 9, and together. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we'll let our legs open up for a stretch. By this point, the muscles are a little fatigued, so if you prefer to just let the knees be bent, hands on the inner thighs, that would absolutely still let gravity help to stretch the inner thighs. Extending the legs out long does include a few more muscle groups, so it's up to you, but both are still good, so don't feel like you have to force one or the other. Beautiful. Both legs together, both feet down toward the ground. So from here, let's take a few bridge poses. So 5 total. Inhale, roll the hips up. Exhale, rolling back down. Repeating 4. 3. 2. 1. Okay, we're going to lift our hips back up one more time. When we get there, our hips are going to rise about an inch higher and then drop about an inch lower. So it's not a huge movement, just up and down. So roll back up to bridge. Start to find that pulsing. So a little bit up, a little bit down. Usually the first couple, it's like, oh, this is hardly anything. And then after the next, it's like, oh, okay. So let's take another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend, hips to the ground. Bend knees come in, hands to the knees. Do a few easy hip circles just to kind of massage that low back. Both knees start to fall all the way over to the left. Arms spread open. And knees back up. Tilt all the way to the right. Then as we take our knees back above us, it's like we're locking our hinge joints. So our hips are locked, our knees are locked. Really, it's the knees that is the biggest thing. It's locked at this 90-degree angle shape. If you need to make it harder, then that 90-degree angle will increase any amount that you choose. Straight would obviously be the hardest. So locking that knee joint, hands go on the floor by the hips. Sometimes I'll even kind of tuck my thumbs under the hips to keep the hips solid on the ground. So from here, we start to lower our toes down closer and closer to the ground, but that knee is not changing the angle. When our low back starts to arch, that's our sign. Okay, that's as far as I go. I come back in. So then lower down, listen to the low back, don't arch it. Only go as far down as you don't have to. Come back in. Exhales and inhales. That low back solid on the ground helps to make sure that low back doesn't start building pain. So those muscles around it strong and secure. Doing okay? Let's take another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. So take it to happy baby. Let's grab the feet. If the knees go wide, take a few easy rocking movements or stillness. And that starts to feel good. Let both straight legs go up to the sky. You're going to switch back and forth between the right hand and the left hand. So first the right hand tries to touch the outside of the left foot or past it, and then the left hand to the outside of the right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Head down for a little mini break. Good. So you can either repeat the same thing, or I'll add in an increased challenge for anybody who wants to take it. With that challenge, both hands are in prayer position, the arms straight. We swing the arms up above head for the inhale. With the exhale, we touch both arms to the outside of the one thigh. Inhale, exhale, both to the outside of the other. So choose your difficulty and then take your exhale, inhale, breath. Here's 10, and 9, 8, 7, 6, Obviously going slower is also fine. 5, 4, and 3, 2, 1. Good. Drop the knees down. Another little neck stretch. Curling the hands, clasping them behind the head. Curl the chin in. If this time the neck wants little movements, I kind of just slide one elbow forward and then slide the other elbow forward. And doing that gently rocks my head back and forth. Good. So we're now going to roll over onto our side body that faces us to the center of the room. All see nice and easily. The legs are in the banana shape, so rather than just being a straight line, the legs slightly go forward. Top thigh rotates up. The top leg is going to do a quick kick up to the sky and then a slow lowering all the way back down. So kick up, exhale, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now the bottom leg rises up and down. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Relax the legs for a moment. Maybe a tiny little massage for the outer thigh. Good. And feel free to roll over to the side away from me. So your legs are in that kind of V shape, the legs slightly in. The top thigh is rotating up as much as it can, me trying to point up. And then quick kick up, 10, 9, 8, maybe even slower, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Top leg about hip height, bottom leg comes up, 10, and down. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest down, maybe a couple of easy little massage motions for that hip. And rolling onto our back for one more little thing here. So arms stretch up overhead, that's an inhale. Release, exhale, arms lift up. We try to roll all the way up and over. If you can't make it, just practice that first half. And then roll back down. So just doing little crunches up and down would be absolutely acceptable. Either way, exhales to try to come up as much as you can. Good, inhales down. Yes, if you ever need to bend your knees and grab your thighs, that's okay. If you're coming up without too much difficulty, try to use more core, meaning go slower. It's easy to use momentum, it's harder to go slow. That being said, do what you can do. Good. Maybe let's take maybe 3 more. 2. And this last one, get up, whatever you have to do, and we'll stretch over our leg. It can be a little bent if you need, it can be straighter. It's up to your mobility, your flexibility right now. Especially let that head hang heavy and let that ear rock back and forth, left and right. Loosen up some of that tension. So we're gonna come up to a tall seated place. If that means legs straight, great. If that means legs bent so you can be tall, that's great too. Arms start out in front. With our first exhale, we curl in. Go as far back as you have that control, and then inhale gets us back up tall. Next exhale, arms up. And then here's 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Pick up the knees. We're gonna go to boat pose. Know that feet on the ground is a good variation if needed. This one's gonna go with an inhale, arms up through the center. Exhale, touch hands to floor or hip, whatever works best for your motion. So inhale up, exhale down. Inhale, exhale, your own pace. Okay, so boat or toes down. We're up and down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Grab the ankles, pull it into cobbler's pose. Work. Okay, we're swinging our knees underneath our body. Then we're going to take it into an elbow plank. Once we're in elbow plank, the idea is rocking forward and backward on the toes. And so our head is like a bat right now, going forward and back. Whenever you have it set up the best that you can, and hips higher makes it easier. Let's go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop the knees down, come to a high kneeling place. I know we're almost at the end, so if it feels like I'm doing a lot, it's because we're almost at the end of the exercise and we'll get some good stretches coming shortly. So we're getting there, we're so close. Okay, I usually like to tuck my toes because then when I lean back, it feels like that gives me just a little bit more control over using my quads. This one's largely for quads. When you tilt back, that makes those engage, and then coming back up is back to rest. So arms are a back stroke. One arm circles back as we lean back, and then comes right back up. We're in the start. Here's 5. And 4. 3. And 2. 1. Good. Let's go straight to dolphin. So elbows down, toes tucked. Try to lift the hips up and walk the feet in as much as you have that flexibility for. This is one we're just gonna hold as long as the breath is still steady. At any point that you're ready to drop out, that will be our break. So a nice little child pose, sink the hips back. But as long as you still have that control, the breath is still flowing in and out. Keep it flowing, keep it the breath. Doing awesome. And child when you're ready, but no rush. Keep on enjoying it if you're still there. Let's take about 5 deep, slow breaths. Each one you're trying to slow your breath down a little bit more than the previous. Eventually, when you come to that final breath, that 5th one, scoot yourself all the way forward onto your belly. Our last bit of strengthening here. So, arms are going to be at our sides. We're trying to rotate the thumbs more out like a thumbs up through the side rather than like curling them in. So chest is more open. And this is going to be just a little tiny pulse. So inhale, legs and arms rise. Exhale, gently lower. Inhale. Exhale. You don't have to go all the way down either. You can just lower that inch up, inch down. Another 5 of those. And last one, try to lift it high. And exhale, release. Let's slide our elbows underneath us for Sphinx. So first things first, let's make this about a core stretch. So our hands, we imagine that they're dragging toward us, but we don't let them move. Instead, the belly gets brought forward and through, stretching out all those abdominal muscles. Here, start to let the head relax, even kind of collapsing into the shoulders a little bit. Let the neck have that nice, easy rocking or stillness. As head rises back up, swivel the left hand in. Right hand tries to grab right toes. Take it into a quad stretch. So everybody's at a different spot. My first step, if I'm kind of barely holding on, is just hold on. Next step would be trying to get the hip back down to the ground. Third step would be trying to swivel the toes just a little bit to the side of the hip. And fourth step, if you still have space, stop any place where you're like, nope, that was my space. If you still have more, rotate your shoulders to be a little bit more. Easy breath in and out. Release. And right hand pops us up. Grab the left toes and take it step by step. So maybe hip down, maybe toes closer to glute, maybe toes swiveling out to the side, maybe both shoulders squared forward. Start to release. The right arm goes out straight to the right side. I like to have the middle finger about level with where my eyes go. That's the placement. And then flip your head to gaze away from it. So right cheek on the ground. Left hand presses into the earth. And that helps us to stack our hips maybe. Or maybe top leg rotates back. Just getting as deep as you need to go to stretch your right shoulder. And then start to return back through the middle. Left shoulder to left. Bring the middle finger about level where the eyes are. Gaze away. Gazing with the left cheek down. Press into the right hand, maybe hip stack. Maybe the top leg rotates behind. Only as much as the shoulders are okay with. Turning back down. Back to Sphinx, elbows underneath. Then swivel the left hand in, and then the right. So both hands are parallel to the top of mat. Start to walk each hand off of each side. Tuck the chin in before you rest the chin down, so you have lots of space to breathe. If you don't feel any stretch through shoulders or shoulder blades, bump the elbows forward. Walk the elbows back in. Do a few little shoulder shrugs. Just kind of shoulders to ears and then press down. Then we'll have the left hand swivel in front. Walk each hand back off to each side. If you need to bump the elbows forward to feel anything, that's okay. Tuck the chin in before you rest it. The elbows in. Press back to child pose. You can choose arms forward or arms tucked back, whatever feels best for the shoulders. And then your choice to transition through kneeling or through down dog. But we're going to end up with our right leg in front of us. Left knee down. And then the goal here is to feel the stretch on the front of the left hip. So some people can get to that just by sinking forward. Some people have to increase that space in the hip even more by bringing hands up to the thigh. It's still sinking forward. And for inhale, exhale, shift the hips over the back knee, let the front leg go straight. Lower down to that hamstring. I haven't done much with hamstrings today, so it's a nice place just to breathe. The body's nice and warm. Leg comes back. If you transition through down dog, feel free to go to down dog. Otherwise, kneeling is fine. For left foot forward. First, the hip stretch. So maybe hands to the ground. You're there and you're like, this isn't as much as I want. Then big hips forward, hands up to the thigh. Inhale. Exhale, transition the front leg straight. Drop down. Breathe into that hamstring. Good. Transition out and to seated. We'll wrap up with one of my favorite low back stretches. So with this one, bottoms of feet go together and the feet are about as far forward as we can get them. Your spine relax forward, head especially dropping heavy. If the head weighs the rest of the spine down, it can pull those muscles into the stretch with it. And then take your right hand to your right knee. As you work on straightening that right arm, this will shift your nose over the left knee. Just free out the left hand to the left. I love that stretch all the way to the right half of the low back. Low through the center. And switch it out. Left hand to left knee. Straighten that arm, nose over the right. Let's go back down low through the center. Just 3 bonus breaths here. Starting to rise back up. If there's any last seated stretches your body wants, take them. If there's any last stretches on your back, take them. It's our journey towards Shavasana, so sooner or later we'll come to that beautiful restful pose. But no rush if the body still wants a couple of minutes. Always, there's never a rush to be in Shavasana. When you are there, take at least a few of these deep belly breaths. Kind of bring class full circle. This time, leading the body toward a beautiful restful place. Since it's done so well at energizing us and helping us have this wonderful flow with this time we share together. Belly breaths in, out. Just a couple of bonus breaths like that until you feel ready to fall back into just a normal, natural breath rhythm. Take another inhale. Long, deep exhale. And just slowly journey out, just taking a few movements to the fingertips and the toes, ankles and wrists. Stretching it out, like waking up first in the morning. Actually taking yourself to fetal position on one side. Enjoy a few bonus breaths. It's so nice just to be here. Take another 3, 4, 5 good deep breaths until you feel ready to rise. Join hands together in front of our hearts. We reconnect back to that idea of flow, adding that flow where there maybe previously was stagnation, allowing breath where it used to get stuck, allowing our thoughts to flow more creatively. So with all this flow to lead us on, let's wrap up the time we got to share together today with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light, happiness, and peace. Namaste.